plan, and then there's this one that is approving the agreement. I sent you guys a copy.
Hit I think 3 times. Hit hard.
I call this meeting to order. Would everyone please rise and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I think I understand.
Executive basis.
Roll call.
That's why we have to approve all contracts.
Brent Luther.
Present.
R.J. Donovan.
Here.
Tim Yoakum. Present. I want to introduce our guest today from North Vermillion. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Tycee Crabtree, and I'm a senior at North Vermillion High School.
And thank her for coming today. Our Commissioners Mentoring Program was started several years ago, bringing students from the high schools to educate them about the government in our county. It's been very successful, and today she'll be going around meeting each one of the elected office holders, figuring out what each office holder does, and so it gives them a good insight into local government. Thank you for coming. Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes as written.
There's 2 minutes. Which one? We have a special meeting.
There are
The
2
10-12 minutes, I think it was.
John, there would be no objection to approving those together, would there?
To doing what?
To approving the minutes together?
No, I don't.
Okay. So it's 10-12, and what's the other one?
From the special meeting.
Okay. I would make a motion to approve minutes from 10-12 and 10-20 as written.
There was some corrections where those made, or no? They were of very minor nature, so I will second that motion.
Second discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion.
I do have a question on some of these. We need to get together to consider. We're approving these claims, and I'm not real comfortable with all these expenditures that we have on there, but there's claims that these are things that the office holders are responsible for, and we have no real say-so in it. And I have a question, why are we approving the docket at that point if we're not
We can schedule.
understanding it? So I'll second the motion, or do we have a motion already?
Yep.
There's a second to motion, and I've already seconded. We're in discussion, but I'd like to have that laid out a little bit more, or so I understand what we're really approving and what we're not approving. So
We have another meeting next week or so, and schedule that. It'll be good discussion.
so far, everybody said, well, that we don't have any say so in that. It's somebody else's deal. So why are we approving?
We can ask John Spur to look at that too, so he can give us
the
legal.
statute here in a few minutes. I'll email it to you.
I understand the statute. It's the individual line items that we're approving that people say we shouldn't be questioning any of it. So, or
All
some
in
of it. I mean, not any of it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Approval of payroll.
Make a motion to approve payroll.
I'll second the motion to approve payroll.
Discussion.
We asked at one time, I don't know, is it possible still to get the other hours on there of what is outstanding for vacation, or not vacation time, but paid comp time?
I think you get that once a month. Do you want it more than once?
No, once a month is fine. I don't remember getting it though. I'll look again. Thank you.
Where are we at on this? Was it
Call for the
discussion?
vote.
We're in discussion.
I'm done with discussion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Open issues. Health Department update on COVID-19.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just a few updates. It seems like this past week Vermillion County is starting to go down in numbers, so that is a good for positive cases. So that is a good report for our county. I spoke to the nurse yesterday. We had some concerns prior to. One day we received a notice of 20 in one day, so that's quite a bit for this time of year. So as of the past few days, we've started seeing numbers go down, so that is a plus for us.
Can everyone hear her? Everybody hear her okay? Go ahead, sorry.
Okay. So right now, percentage-wise, we are seeing 42% fully vaccinated and 46 that have at least one dose, which the fully vaccinated, if you have Johnson & Johnson, you are fully vaccinated with one dose. We do now have boosters, and we will be calling and scheduling people, and we have almost like 150 on a list that have called. So we will be calling and scheduling them in to get their booster. We have all three, so we would like to get people in. If anyone is interested in getting a booster, give us a call and we will get you registered or tell you where to get registered, and we'll start doing boosters as of today.
Those are only by appointment? Or
No,
not?
if they call
Drop-in?
or if they walk in, we are not turning anyone away. We would rather you be registered because of getting the vaccines ready, but if they walk in, we're not turning anyone away. They can receive a booster or a vaccine for their first time or whatever. So we'll make sure that everybody is vaccinated that wants to be vaccinated.
But that's on Tuesday and Thursdays from noon to 6, and then Saturdays from noon to 3. We don't do it every day.
Right. At this point, but if the need be, we will change our schedule. As you're all aware, Dr. Albright had retired, but he stuck with us this last month. We had an executive meeting on Tuesday of last week, and then we had a public meeting. Our board did vote to put in Lori Belair. She is the hospitalist at Union Hospital. We had 3 candidates. We had 3 great candidates, and it was a very hard decision for the board. You guys are required to sign off of this appointment, so I have brought the paperwork for you to do so. And I met with Dr. Valera yesterday. She will be coming to your meeting, introducing herself, and is willing to attend meetings as well for whatever needs you guys have. But she's not able to attend every meeting, but she will be available for you guys as well. So I don't know how you want to handle this, but you guys do need to sign off of this.
We'll discuss that after you're done.
Okay. Okay, that's it. Any
I have a
questions?
couple different questions.
Sure.
Are they providing this at schools now,
What's that?
the shots?
Now we've been in the schools for the staff and kids 18 and older. So the younger kids are not approved yet at this point. That is coming. I know they meet next week. They're
when
be
you-
5 and older.
When you talk about approved, under 18, or they can still make a decision without the parent?
No, parents have to sign. Yes.
Okay.
There has to be parent permission.
One of the other questions I had, the statistics I'd like to see if you guys can get it or not,
Sure.
is the deaths in Vermilion County and the people who are dying or passed on from COVID that had shots and, you know what I mean, in death. People that passed on from COVID, did they have the shot, and some have had the shot and still died. So that's a statistic I'd like to see. I don't know if you
Okay.
can get it or not, but I
I'll
think
try,
it would be,
yeah.
what do you think, Brent and RJ? It'd be a good statistic to see.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
If it's available,
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
I will contact the state
I
and
would
see
like
what
to
they
know
can
that,
give us.
if
Mhm.
possible.
Sure.
Okay. So where are we at on COVID? What color are we now?
Right now, as of this morning, we're orange, so the state is not notifying us any longer. We have to get that information ourselves. They were notifying each county, but now it's on the,
Okay, and orange means what?
it means moderate spread.
And what are the limitations? Any limitations?
Now, at this point, it's up to each county to provide those limitations if you choose to do so.
Okay.
So Wendy, this is my first time seeing a doctor, be replaced since Mr. Albright's been here, 20 plus years.
32 years.
32.
Mhm.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
32.
So you said the commissioners need to certify the appointment.
Yes.
So what happens if the commissioners don't certify the appointment?
That I'm not sure. John?
John, is there?
The statute says the legislative body, which you guys are both legislative and executive,
I think as a legislative body, you first approve of the appointment, and then if you approve of it, you certify it in your capacity as an executive.
So, I mean, let's say we don't approve it, then is there, I mean,
Then they
are we
can-
held to, we
Then they
have
go
to
back
approve?
through their process, and they bring in a person's name before you again. If the same person doesn't get approved twice in a row, then they become ineligible for that appointment.
Okay. I was just curious, I wasn't sure if it was a formality we had to approve, or if we had some say, if we,
Sure.
thank you, John.
Wait a minute. We're gonna have to, we'll give it a chance to speak, but not right now, if you don't mind. Anything else with this? You want to have something to say about this? You want to take that under advisement, this appointment, or what we'll do here?
I'm not ready to approve an appointment today,
Okay,
so I'd like a little bit more time to review.
we'll take that under advisement.
Okay, let me give you her form.
Okay.
To do that, I will notify the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
So will we be looking at that the next meeting, or I need to kind of let them know?
I think that's.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Do we have a resume or written recommendations?
Yes, I have that all in the office.
Okay, it'd be nice
please send
to
that
have
to us, we'd like to see that too.
I sure will.
I personally never heard of her, I don't know who she is.
She's the hospitalist in the Vermillion County, or hospital here in Clinton.
Does she live
her-
back with Vermillion County?
Excuse me?
Live in Vermillion County?
She does not, but she and her husband are locating back to Vermillion County.
Any other questions for the health department?
I'm finished.
I'm good.
Thank you. Wait, what, if it's,
Just having trouble hearing you.
okay, that's good to know. Me or who or everybody?
Everybody.
Okay. Pull your mics up, Britton, see if you can pull your mic up. RJ, see if you can pull your mic up. Thanks for letting us know, that's important. Any other public comments we'll keep to the end? Vermillion Rise.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I wanted to share this morning a piece we're working on. Weeks ago, we drafted and agreed to an agreement of how we're going to provide water for Vermillion Rise to the jail. We simply had understandings before, and we wanted to put something in writing. So we want to do the same thing for the sanitary sewer services that the Rise provides. So we've drafted an agreement, basically used that water template, just sort of turned it into sanitary sewer. And there's some differences, of course. It looks imposing. It's actually 4 pages. The balance of the document are 2 attachments that are referenced, and those are our ordinances that regarding sanitary sewer service. The first one was sort of the kickoff of us doing that back in 2013, 2014, and then the second one in 2017, we amended our limits for what type of effluent we would be able to accept. So I want to leave you with a copy of this. We could maybe walk through a piece of it, and I will say that from a
Thank you.
physical plant perspective, we thought that the Rise would own the facilities, including the lift station and the force main back to the Rise. Those are some of the larger components and complicated components of the system and serving the jail. From the lift station manhole back to the jail, and we're actually looking into the highway department as well, that structure, if there's some effluent reaching the lift station, that would be the county's responsibility to maintain those connections. So it's kind of like, your home or business, that you own from the street to your house. And so that's kind of how we're framing this arrangement now. Certainly it's a draft. There might be other things to consider, but we wanted to get a draft to you all so we could start review and discussion.
Is there any changes from the past charges, or is it increased, or was it?
Well, at our last board meeting, we were talking about rate increases. Our rates are so low, just silly low, and the fact, rates should pay for utility services, and we're not there. We frankly need more customers to get there. The other consideration is if we were to go after grants or loans in the future, those funding agencies are always going to look at your rates, and they basically ask, are you helping yourself? Are your rates on par with other like utilities? So we're talking about that and getting our customer base made aware. We don't want to spring a big rate increase on folks. It'll probably be some sort of phase in. So that's one thing we're talking about.
With this ordinance, are we in compliance, or with what we've sent to the RISE before, are we in compliance with the ordinance at this point?
Yes. We did have one of the limitations was phosphorus, and Scott Pett was exceeding that, and we've got some money to treat that, so everyone's in compliance right now.
So there's no BOD requirements or anything that
those are all
within that?
listed, but we're not aware that anyone is exceeding those limits. Yeah.
You know what the rating is on your sewer plant? How many millions of gallons a day are you? I'm not holding you to it, but
it's just under 200,000, 194,000 gallons a day treatment capacity, with a peak of almost 500,000. And then we might be using 35,000 a day, so there's capacity for growth.
One of the things I was going to ask and talk to the council, I've talked to some other ones about, is currently we have the $1.5 million balance that's on the RISE building.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we as a county ought to be more aggressive in trying to market that with you as a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that if we could come to some type of agreement, and like I said, the council would have to approve it too, but we have $1.5 million, and if we could use that as far as leverage for another company coming in,
Mm-hmm.
an incentive, like offer that maybe at 1%, $1 million at 1%.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would say, well, that's not right. Well, when right now on our current returns on investments, we're getting like 0.15. And so if we could do 5 times the amount on interest on that $1.5 million instead of bringing it back and getting nothing out of it, and we provide an incentive for a new company to come in at 1% interest, it might be something that would be the final thing to help get a company to come in. I didn't know what you thought about that.
Yeah, all those incentives help. There's no secret that economic development's exceedingly competitive, and everyone's looking to find a way to distance yourself from the competition. That could help, particularly if financing is a concern for the purchaser. If they're a really strong company and not intending to finance, it might not be as strong.
Right.
And plus, it's the transaction of asking the company to enter into a loan agreement, and we won't get in the weeds, but what are all the terms there? If you don't want to be onerous about placing unreasonable liens, so there's probably some middle ground there that we could find from examples of other folks that are using these forgivable loans. It kind of came to the forefront recently with those giant electric vehicle projects in Tennessee and Kentucky. There the state structured some incredibly big loans, but they were forgivable as long as the company, paid taxes, created those jobs, made those investments. So that program is sort of gaining some traction, the idea of a forgivable loan or lower interest loan.
Do you think that would be a good thing to have available to you guys or not?
I think we want to have every arrow in the quiver,
okay.
And that would be a good one. I'd agree.
Well, Bob, is there something maybe you and the board could, come up with some recommendations that, what the commissioners and council could do to help with that 1.5? Tim suggested one, and now you're talking about, the Tennessee idea.
Right.
Just say, hey, these are some ideas that we think, but if we're working together to land a company, then we might as well all work together and see what it takes.
Right.
But I would like to see something from you guys, what you think would work, because you guys are the ones taking the calls day in and day out and showing people. We're not out there, so.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Also, I asked earlier about a letter. I don't know if that's something that we need to write up or you need to write up. But each time a new company comes in, I think there ought to be a letter that will go to that company of support from the county commissioners, welcoming them to Vermillion County and making us available. I think that would be a good addition to do.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want us to draw that letter up, or are you going to draw it up? Or
Well, let me take a draft and just send it out, and then you can fill in or adjust, and yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on?
No.
Now, here for long, you'll have a lot of, well, I was asking for a change, if there was a change in the cost on the water to the jail. There is a cost raise.
We're discussing that.
Okay.
It's
Because when this project's done, it's no more testing. We don't have to worry about the water no more to jail. And it's you're providing potable water to the jail at IDM requirements.
Yeah, and the service / fire water will still remain intact for the fire suppression.
Are easements already in place to that lift station?
That's a good point. That's one thing that our attorney brought up is whether or not we wanted to do the easements or simply just reference, in the agreement it just referenced that we're granted access. So we can tighten that up.
I think we'll need to provide an easement.
Okay.
So we'll have a certain part of that line that is ours, right?
Just from, well,
From the
he
potable.
mentioned it was just from the lift station back.
Though on potable water too, correct? Once it leaves your facility, it becomes ours.
Yeah,
correct?
there we decided basically, yeah, when it travels under 63, it becomes Vermillion County.
Once it becomes on the jail proper, county property, then it becomes ours from there to the jail at this point. That's what's been discussed anyway.
You're saying where it leads out across the highway on the other side?
I believe that was what we
You get clarification.
left our land, got to your land.
Where's the meter at for that?
It's
Back in the building on the right, or by the waste treatment, by the,
It's on the Rise property, the meter is?
No, I thought we were going to have a control room or metered.
it's right inside the building there by the.
The mechanical
open-
room in the jail, right?
Yeah, that's what
Typically, water companies are responsible up to the meter,
Yeah.
or within 5 foot of the foundation on
That's something to
sewers,
check
but
out.
anyway. That's just a rule of thumb, that's not necessarily cast
Right.
in concrete.
Right.
We should probably tie that down a little bit.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
Any other questions for Bob?
You mentioned the jail. The jail's on a septic system, correct? Or not the jail, the highway, District 2 garage?
Yes.
Are we tying this into,
No.
I didn't know that we were, but
No.
No, we just mentioned the 10 in the course of, the
They want no more customers. It's out of
investigation.
their jurisdiction or whatever, right?
There was another pipe leading to the manhole with effluent entering the manhole, and just where's it coming from? So we haven't done any.
it is septic water though?
That's what the crew there mentioned. Yeah.
Okay.
So look into it.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Thank you, Bob. Next on the agenda is the jail project.
It's BTA, isn't it?
Vermillion Trail, excuse me. I'm getting ahead of myself. Two V's there together.
Good morning, I'm Tom Milligan, and so we continue to work on our Next Level Trails project. We have Thrive working on that as a grant writer for us, and they're providing a great service for it. The service is totally paid for by the Vermilion Trails Alliance because it's not it can't be part of the grant. We're meeting with an appraiser tomorrow to do some work on land acquisition. We met yesterday with the Tri-County group and also had a presentation by the people from Lafayette. Was very interesting, and being you just hear this repeated over and over and over. Being part of a bigger system makes you much, much more competitive in the grant world. And so adding Vermilion County, they've already got counties in the north that are together to do this down to like the Warren County line and Fountain County. Warren and Fountain County are part of it. Now it needs to go through Vermilion County and through Vigo and on, and we're talking with a Fort to Fort Harrison to the thing in Vincennes. So it would be a thing that would go from Vincennes to Lafayette and beyond, going north. So, and being part of those things are, if you can say you're part of a trail system, you are much more competitive in the grant world. Another thing they brought up, it needs to be in your comprehensive plan that trails need to be a part of that. That gives you more points on going for trail for grant money. So we're trying to push all the buttons that we can, and Stan Lambert talked about being we talk about quality of place, as something. He said a community of choice, and making your community a community of choice so people choose to come here. That was kind of a little buzzword that I liked, and trails is just a little piece of that puzzle. But working together, if we strive to be that community of choice, that's what can move us forward. So, any questions?
What's happened to you said counties to the north? Where is that interconnect or whatever from the northern county?
Well, it's following the river. It's basically a river project, and of course it doesn't go right down the river all the time, but I mean it follows the Wabash River.
Okay. You said something about land acquisition.
We're just working with the landowners down in the river bottoms to get a strip of land that will get us from the railroad right away out to the public crossing. So it's it's not acreage. I mean, it's not a big thing. It's just a small sliver that will go through and get us out of and across. To be connecting, we got to somehow get across the CSX railroad, and that's our plan, is to go across at a public crossing. And to do that, we've got to acquire a little sliver of land along the CSX railroad.
How's any other development on the project at the river that we already worked on, and you guys backing up, changing direction, or what are you doing?
Well, we're working at, as you know, our bids came in higher than what our money would allow on the awarding of the bids. So we're trying to roll that into the Next Level Trails grant and see where that goes. So that's part of our challenge also. And as you guys know, I mean, bids across all things are coming in higher than anticipated, and ours did also. So we can only have you award the bids based on the money we have available. So you either shrink the project some or you get more money. So we're working on those things.
You guys have any questions or?
Thanks for your support. That's what it takes to make these things work, is working together. So we do appreciate everybody's cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Max Surveyor, am on here today?
Skip
You wanna
the
do the
jail.
jail?
You skip the jail now.
Jail, please.
Yeah.
Too many V's there together.
So far, they're starting with, well, have started with the foundations and the slab on grade. The pre-engineered building, I think, is supposed to be here around December 15th, plus or minus, basically the middle part of December. Structural steel delivery is expected in 2022, though. We will be doing it.
Early part of 2022.
Yeah. We'll be erecting that during the winter as well, assuming the foundations do, put in place. The site water extension there has been an extension of the water. There was a little bit of an incident with that out there. It was minor in nature, but could have been a problem. But anyway, they've got the tie-in now. They're in the process of installing the new ductwork and the sanitary piping and the power feeds. The Duke Energy relocation is complete and allows them to go ahead and excavate for the foundations now. And we're still on budget. Our contingency is real close, within I think 10,000 of what it was before. So we're doing well as far as the budget is concerned. We have had some change orders, and we can go over those if you want at a later time.
So we're on schedule
Oh, yeah.
and on budget.
We're doing very well with both. Yeah.
We're pretty pleased with Gourmand's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been able, for whatever change orders we've had additions. We've also had just about the equal number of subtractions or credits to the project. So we're doing very well with the project at this point. So.
And that completion date is?
January 4, 2023.
2023, January.
We also have a meeting today. WTHI Channel 10 is going to do an interview on the site today about noonish. I'm not exactly sure what time it is. 10, maybe it's 10 o'clock.
Good.
Anyway, they'll be interviewing the commissioners and sheriff and Garmong out there for the construction.
Anybody got any questions about the jail? Brief. Ron Mack Surveyor, I don't see him here today. Let's see. Penny Carpenter permits.
Good morning. Penny Carpenter, Area Plan. As of yesterday evening, we are up to 75 permits for 2021. Last year, this time, we had 81 permits. So we're a little slower, but not bad.
What is it compared to the year before that? Wasn't it down?
To 19 or?
The last year was up.
Right, so last year we had 81 at this time. This year we're at 75.
I mean, the year before.
So we're doubled. And
'Cause
19 we only did like 57 permits.
So really, compared to last year, we're about the same,
Yep.
but there was a big uptick, right?
Yes, between 19 and 20. And then since the September meeting, 2 of those new permits I've received are for new homes, and one's in Helt Township and one's in Clinton Township. So we are growing.
How many of those building permits are in new homes? Are there about all of them? Or
No, I believe
when you say a permit, is that an addition to, or is that?
a permit is anything that's increasing the footprint of your home or property. So it could be pole barns. We do a lot of pole barns, garages, new houses, porches, decks. All of that is considered as a permit. So I believe with these 2, that'll make 16 new houses for 2021. But I would have to look at my sheet to verify that.
Okay.
So we are growing.
Good information. Anybody got a question for Penny?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lanco Economic Development Agreement. Is that Elanco?
Okay. I didn't hear what you said.
We're putting you to sleep.
Okay.
Good morning, my name's Scott Craig. I'm here this morning as the attorney for the Redevelopment Commission. We have been working for several months, many months, on a project with Elanco, and we are finally here before you this morning for your approval of several steps or several resolutions that relate to that project. This project is going to take a while to implement. This is the 4th of 8 meetings we have to get this project approved. So we're about halfway through, although we're hoping to squeeze our last 4 meetings into the same day in a couple weeks so that we don't all have to travel so much and try and be more efficient about it. I'm going to give you a little bit of background and then I'll probably turn the floor over. We're joined today with Andy Mauser, is probably a familiar face to you guys from Baker Tilly. He's been doing our financial analysis and consulting on this project. I also have Tom Pittman, who has been working as our bond counsel and advisor in a legal capacity on behalf of the Redevelopment Commission for this project. Tom's a lawyer in Indianapolis at Barnes & Thornburg and might be a familiar face to you all as well because he does these throughout the state. I know he's worked some, I think, with Bob Gruey out at Verizon, and we've worked with him on economic development projects in our county as well. The other face that might not be familiar to you is Brent Wright. I'm going to point him out here because he drove all the way over here this morning, and I feel bad for him. He's one of Lanco's attorneys. He's over joining us this morning from Bose McKinney, or Bose Law Firm. Are you not Bose McKinney anymore? Bose McKinney. Okay, still Bose McKinney. All right, they changed the names a lot. It's hard to keep track. Let me give you a little bit. There's a couple different things happening here. The first thing is we are asking your permission to expand the boundaries of the existing White Construction Economic Development Area. The White Construction Economic Development Area was first created in 2009 and consisted entirely of and solely of White Construction's new headquarters located at the intersection of North Main and 63 outside of Clinton. That economic development area was created, and that TIF district within that economic development area was created to help finance the extension of water and sewer lines to White Construction. They wanted to build their new headquarters. They needed sanitary water and municipal sewers, lift stations and things of that nature. As you know, you can't build anything of any size without having those utilities. So we created the TIF district and have financed the extension of water and sewer through that means. The Redevelopment Commission had been in discussions about the possibility of expanding the White Construction area. We'd had some informal discussions about whether it would make sense to expand that area anyway, because we felt like that, and I have a couple people here from our Redevelopment Commission this morning, that's an area of our county that has good potential for economic development and growth. It's got 4-lane highway, it's got rail, it's got river access on one side at least, it's got an airport, it's got a lot of things going for it. It's zoned industrial. So we've been having these discussions anyway when we found out, and through former Economic Development Director Dylan Riggin came to us and said, hey, Lanco is considering maybe doing a project in Vermilion County, and we thought maybe redevelopment could help incentivize that project. So we started having meetings and discussions with Lanco back in it was cold, I don't remember, it was probably March or February. And those discussions evolved and have been ongoing over the past several months. So the company is looking to make an investment of $105 million of new equipment. So our project or our proposal calls for Lanco to commit to making that $105 million investment in new equipment in our county over the next decade or so. I was thinking about it when Mr. Luther was talking about the jail. $105 million, it just kind of rolls off your tongue, and maybe it doesn't sound like that much, but it's like 4 times the cost of the jail in new equipment, which is a substantial investment by any measure, I think. They would commit to making a $105 million investment in our county in new equipment over the next decade. They would also agree, we've been discussing this, there's Lanco, if you don't know, Lanco is our county's biggest employer. It's also our second biggest taxpayer. But they would commit to a job retention goal of 300 jobs for that next decade. So there are some
You're
jobs.
saying 300 jobs of retaining 300 from with their existing.
Yes, correct. Okay. So, And obviously, if you're making a $100 million investment, you're not looking to go anywhere anytime soon. But that, I think that's important that we have a commitment from them to retain those jobs over the next decade. We would then be issuing TIF bonds to help finance their proposed project. I'll let Andy and Tom get into the details of how those bonds work and how the financing is structured. But it essentially will generate money that we will share with Lanco. There's tax revenues that will come off those bonds. That money will, there's about an 80-20 split here of the revenues. A lot of that money is going to help secure the debt. The big chunk of that money is going to secure the debt, of course, but we are also generating additional revenues for our TIF district, for the economic development area itself. The projections are that it would generate somewhere between $5 to $10 million of revenue for the economic development area over the next 25 years. Tom can get into what we can do with that money. There are rules. We can't just, spend it wildly or crazily, but the goal would be to use that additional revenue to make investments and do projects that serve or benefit the existing economic development area. Those are our statutory mandates and those are our statutory rules in serving or benefiting the area. So that could be utilities, it could be roads, it could be other infrastructure, it could be buildings, equipment. There's a lot of options for what that revenue can be used for, and it either needs to be in that area or it needs to serve or benefit that area. The classic example that we talk about is, maybe you need a cell tower because the cell service isn't very good, but you can put that cell tower outside the district because it does serve or benefit that district. Okay. So there are 3 resolutions, I think, in front of you. Again, this is a multi-step process. One expands the area and makes some amendments to the plan to allow for us to do the kind of financing we need to do. There's another resolution that approves our economic development agreement with the company. And the third one, I believe, approves the issuance of the bonds, if I remember correctly, which we would be doing later this year. It's very important to the company and to us that we have this completed by the end of the year. They've made that very clear to us. We're on a pretty tight schedule to get that done. We don't have a lot of leeway to get that done. So if that's okay, if I may, I'd like to turn it over to either Tom or Andy to maybe discuss some of the details of the financing and what we're doing. So
I had a quick question, maybe you would answer real quick.
Sure.
By doing that, to change that for a TIF district, are we taking a certain amount out that's currently providing tax revenue to the county that will be taken out?
No. It only works, the taxes that are received are only on the new equipment.
Okay.
Or any new, if there were to be any new buildings or anything like that, but it's only on the new, and it's only in the areas, there's a map I think I sent you guys. The allocation area is the only area where taxes are captured. So right now, the only allocation areas are White Construction and Lanco. The other areas are not in any way tax impacted.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having me. Wanted to give just kind of a quick overview. Ms. Scott kind of described the process and what the financing would look like. Just wanted to provide some actual numbers, just so you have an idea as far as kind of bond sizing, what the incentive would look like, what their investments anticipated to generate, not only for the financing, but then for the county through the Redevelopment Commission as well. So we did put together these numbers about a week or so ago. These were shared at last week's council meeting. So just wanted to provide an update and kind of walk through those here with you this morning, and certainly answer any questions you have on those. So quickly just look at page 2. This takes a look at what Lanco currently has invested in the form of personal property, their equipment at the facility. A little over $355 million in cost of equipment existing. And then as Scott mentioned, the plan would be to invest approximately $105 million over the next 10 years. So you can see total investment in just equipment only at the facility once this new investment was made, would be right around $460 million. And that's prior to any depreciation. So, when personal property calculations can be fairly complex, we take a look at the depreciation and the existing abatements and how that all kind of plays as we look forward. So on page 3, we've then taken that investment and tried to convert that into what we think it will generate in the form of TIF. So again, that $355 million, as currently depreciated, results in assessed value of about $80 million, and that's personal property depreciates down to the 30% floor as it rolls through the depreciation tables and ages. So by extending the TIF area, you would set that base right around that 79.9, just under $80 million. That would remain in the tax base of the county, and then only the new investment would be captured in the form of new TIF in that new allocation area. So as that investment's made over that 10-year period, you can see by 2032, their total investment from an assessed value perspective would grow from about $79.9 million to $138.9. So that results in about $59 million of incremental growth in the TIF area. And as Scott mentioned, you would also capture any new buildings or any land value increases. This assumes only growth just from the equipment itself. So that $105 million, this doesn't make any assumptions for land or building increases. And you can see then from a TIF perspective that $59 million in assessed value, by the time the investment's fully made, would generate right around $1.4 million annually in total new TIF within the allocation area. So you can see as the investment's made incrementally, by year 2 you'd have 162,000, year 3 419,000. So that would grow across that 10-year period to the full 1.4 million. So over the course of the 25-year life of the TIF area, on the bottom of that page 3, you can see total down there of about $28.6 million in total TIF that would be generated from the investment. So then with that, we've looked at structuring a bond incentive, similar to thinking back to the jail financing, looking at total payments over the life of the financing and then revenues available to pay that. We've structured these bonds based on 80% of the tax increment generated, and then also with 125% coverage. So there's kind of 2 levels of cushion there. One would be the 20% that's not pledged to the financing that would be available to the Redevelopment Commission for other uses. And then that second piece is, for every dollar of debt service, you would have $1.25 of TIF. So we've got kind of that extra 25% coverage on top of the financing, which I think here in a couple pages will be a little bit easier to see that. These bonds would then be paid from TIF from the project. That TIF would be guaranteed through a taxpayer agreement from Lanco, where they would agree to make total payments up to that level, and then ultimately backed by the property tax of the county. So with that property tax backup, similar to the jail financing, we would expect that should get you that strong A+ rating that the county was able to achieve, and then lowest interest rates possible on the bonds. So with that estimate, that total TIF stream, again of about $28.5 million, would support a bond issue based on those levels, right around $11.8 million. You'd have various financing costs. The largest of those would be just the interest paid during construction that would be funded from bond proceeds, other professional fees and underwriting costs. There would be a debt service reserve, which would just be 1 year's payment that would be set aside on the front end. So that would be your money, and that would remain your money through the life of the financing and would be available to make the last year's payments on the bonds. And then net of all those costs, the $11.8 million would generate right around $9.4 million in proceeds for the incentive. So then page 5 takes a look at what that repayment structure would look like. Again, a 25-year financing, the maximum allowed under the TIF statute, assuming bonds close by the end of the year. With taxable interest rates, we're currently looking at still a very, very low interest rate environment, even for taxable bonds. You can see interest rates ranging here on the front end from about 1.85% to 4.05 on the long end. So a total net taxable interest rate probably somewhere in the range of 3.25% to 3.5%. If you were able to price these bonds today, hopefully that rate would be a little bit lower, but with, the lead time with the approvals, wanted to make sure we left some cushion in there as well. So you can see your total payments, kind of in accordance with the TIF stream, would grow from the early years, in the $400,000 range, and then about 10 years into the financing would level out just under $900,000, so right around $890,000 through the
That's
life of the
standard
financing.
for the interest rate to go up over the term.
Correct, and this is still a fixed interest rate. So, with a financing of this size, you would be selling to a bond underwriter, and then that underwriter selling to different investors. So you may have banks purchasing some of the shorter maturities. You may have insurance companies purchasing some of the longer maturities. So, someone that's willing to loan you money for 25 years is going to want a higher interest rate than somebody, loaning you that money for 5 years. So these rates are all fixed. It just does kind of ascend as you get to the later maturities. And then on page 6, the last page, this takes a look at kind of the TIF available. And as I mentioned, there's really kind of two streams. One is that stream, the second column over, the estimated pledged TIF revenues. That's the 80% that would be generated, that would be pledged to the financing. So about $22.8 million. And then that far right column represents the 20% that the Redevelopment Commission would hold on to. So right around $5.7 million. And then you can see your bond payments in that third column from the left, totaling just under $17.5 million. So you can see that leaves about another $5.4 million, which represents that 25% additional coverage just to ensure there's sufficient TIF to make those payments. So between the 20% you'd hold on to and then that 25% coverage, the 5.3 and the 5.7, that's almost $11 million from the investment that would remain with the county over the 25-year period and be available for other uses within the TIF area, provide coverage against the financing, or if you wanted to kind of accumulate that money to potentially pay the financing off early. So that's a lot of information, but I'd be glad to kind of pause and take any questions you have.
On the debt service review, 20% is going to the Redevelopment Commission. They could be spending that money as they receive it, I take it?
Correct. That would come in on an annual basis and be available to the Redevelopment Commission, much like their existing revenues.
And all that has to be spent within the TIF district or to the benefit of the TIF district, one of the two?
Correct. To Scott's comments, that would need to be anything in serving or benefiting the TIF area.
The net result to the county, though, is only a 5% buffer then as to if there's some type of difference instead of 125%, assuming redevelopment would do something with the monies. Is that true?
I guess the 5% you're referring to?
Well, there's 125% that's being spent or in reserve that's being collected each period of time, of which 20% goes to redevelopment. At least 5%, if they would continue to spend that money and not keep it in reserve to help if we have an issue with the bonds or a shortfall with the bonds, they effectively only have the 5% buffer then between the bond issue and what we owe to it. So the chances of having to use the local income taxes goes up, or is that a true statement or not?
As far as the calculations, there's really kind of two separate pots. So there's the 80% that goes towards the financing, the 20% that'll remain with the Redevelopment Commission. That 125% coverage is just on the 80%. So there's really kind of two pieces that the County and Redevelopment Commission benefit from. One is the 20% they hold on to, and then the other is what almost amounts to an additional 20% from that 25% coverage. So I think probably the best way to illustrate it is, looking at page 3, the total TIF stream, as we went through, is right around $28.5 million. Then if you kind of take that and flip to the last page, page 6, of that $28.6 million, only $17.5 million would go towards the financing. And then kind of those two pieces, so the 20% that the Redevelopment Commission is holding on to, and then that extra 125% coverage, those are represented by the 5.3 and 5.7 million. So of the $28.5 million, there's really around $11 million available to the County and Redevelopment Commission, and then about 17 available to the financing. Does that kind of help illustrate that a little bit?
I think it answers the question.
Okay.
What's the confidence level on these calculations? Are we at 95% confidence level that these are going to hold true, or 99% or 80%? Where do we stand as far as a confidence level of the calculations and assumptions that have been made?
What as Scott discussed, and as Tom mentioned too, you know, there is that taxpayer agreement that'll be in place. So Lanco's, you know, promised to make payments up to these levels. These are our projections, and then you know, that's what their taxpayer agreement payments will be structured around as well. So there is a level of guarantee, even if the TIF payments are, you know, were ever short. But as long as they're making their investment, I mean, personal property, there's not, you know, much risk in that. There's really, you know, it's self-reported by the company based on costs, flows through the depreciation tables. So, you know, as long as the investment's made as they anticipate, you know, these calculations are pretty straightforward at that point.
The lien, the documents talk about lien being held on the property, but it's only on the property tax value as opposed to the property itself. Why is there not a difference there between the property tax value and the actual property value?
Tom, I might have you address that if you don't mind.
It is in fact on the
Property itself.
equipment itself.
Is there a difference then between property tax value and the property itself?
I don't think that is intended to be a distinction.
Okay.
When it says value, it means the property. Yeah.
Does the depreciation of the equipment affect this value? It doesn't appear that there's any allowance for depreciation of the equipment. Will it really last 25 years, or is it going to be depreciated out in 7 years? Does that not have a influence on these values that are being projected here?
The depreciation is factored into our calculations. So the $105 million, you know, investment, if you look at page 3, you know, only generates about $59 million in incremental growth. So that's based on that $105 million as it rolls through the depreciation table. So all depreciation's factored into those calculations.
And even when the equipment depreciates, it never, as long as it's in service, it still pays. There's a floor.
I think that's the key, though, being still in service. That's at 25 years. Well, what happens when they upgrade? I assume they will have to upgrade this equipment at some point in 25-year period. How does that affect any of this?
So
do we come back and have to go through this process again, or refigure how the bonds are going to be paid at that point? Or?
So with the expansion of the TIF area, the county's designating really all Lanco equipment from anything installed after January 1 of 2021. So you're not making, you know, you're not designating just this $105 million investment. If they make another $105 million, you know, 10 years from now, that'll be included in that original designation.
And it'll be a separate, assuming that we'd have to go back to another bond issue, would that be added on to this, or how would that be administered?
I mean, that would certainly be open to, you know, I think future negotiations, but to the extent they're replacing equipment and there's no additional incentive requested, then that would just kind of roll into the existing calculations, much like their existing equipment's kind of already factored into those calculations as well.
Another way to state that, I think, would be Andy's made an assumption of a new 105 million total. He has built the financing solely around that. He is not relying on 1 penny more of investment. His numbers work if they don't invest anything more than the 105. So to the extent there are decreases, his numbers factor in normal expected decreases in assessed value. Correct, Andy?
Correct.
Does the Lanco's standing in the market affect our bond issue? Since this is the county's bond issue, we have an plus rating or whatever it is, does it affect how they stand in the market, our rating?
Most likely it'll have little to no impact. So from your perspective, as I mentioned, there's kind of a three-tiered repayment on the bonds. One would be the TIF, two would be that guarantee from Lanco, and then three would be the property tax. So from your perspective, it kind of works top-down. From the bond market's perspective, it works kind of the opposite direction. So the bond market's going to look to the property tax as the ultimate security on the bonds, and that's where we would expect it to receive the A+ rating. And typically the bond market and the rating agencies will look to that kind of highest level of security, this being the property tax, and that's what will have the biggest impact on interest rates.
And that won't affect our bond rating, regardless of where Lanco falls, higher or lower, it doesn't affect our bond rating at all?
Correct, and that's something, you know, we can certainly take a look at, but, you know, the rating agencies take a look at quite a few different factors. Here you've got bonds that are paid from a revenue stream, so it's, you know, kind of a self-supporting bond issue, so we would hope and think that it would probably have minimal impact on the bond rating, but that's certainly a process we'll have to go through as well.
I don't think this question maybe relates to you, but what entity is this going to be the parent company that we're dealing with the bonds, or is it going to be a subsidiary of the parent company of Lanco?
Could be either, but it shouldn't matter from the perspective of how it impacts the county. The guarantee, though, I think is coming from an entity that will have resources. So I don't know if that's the parent company, but I think I'm correct in saying that it wouldn't be an unfunded LLC that would offer this. Yeah, so it's a guarantee with teeth, and that protects the county, but as Andy said, the bondholders are going to look at the strength of the county's taxing powers. The other items will be nice, but Andy, am I correct? They won't materially impact their bond rating that will be assigned at the time these bonds are issued.
How would that affect, say that you spin this off, Lanco decides the Clinton Labs are going to be sold to XYZ company, how would that affect this? Or does it have any effect to it?
It would raise the need to call in that guarantee by Lanco, in my view. So the fact that the guaranteeing entity is financially strong does matter to you, because if they, for whatever reason, were to, you know, leave the county or whatever, that guarantee would remain in effect. And so
I think your other questions are the assets to it, if they sold it Arena. The tax stream would still survive on that person.
Right, yeah, the equipment stays, yes.
Right.
Yeah, the equipment would be taxable still. And even if they sold it, their guarantee wouldn't go away as a result of selling even the equipment.
Any other questions?
You guys can ask. Go ahead.
Scott, I've got a question. So you mentioned 3 resolutions a little bit ago. I have before me an economic development agreement and 2 resolutions. Is that?
And that, I apologize for that. To simplify things, the third one, the commission approval of the bonds, is not strictly required. So I thought for simplicity, I would suggest just taking it out. It's not legally required.
So the economic development agreement I have before me first, that needs?
That one is. Yeah, and I apologize. There was some confusion about the number of resolutions, and I got myself confused. I was trying to look on my iPad this morning. So
I apologize for that, but as I was working with Scott to check.
So there be 3 or just 2?
There are 2. There are 2. The one that approves the bond issue drops out. The other 2 stay.
The county council does have to approve the bond.
Exactly.
And so they have met once They did that last week, and they had gave preliminary approval to that. They will be meeting again on November 10th to give final approval to the bond issue. Then the bonds also have to be approved by the Economic Development Commission, the Redevelopment Commission, and a just formed Economic Development Corporation that we created in order to start the bond. Tom can get into it's the most convoluted, I mean, we're gonna need like a flow chart or chalkboard.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming and making the presentation. I appreciate Lanco, willing to invest $105 million in this county. With that, I don't have any other questions. I would move to make a motion to approve the economic development agreement for us.
Are they done with the presentations?
If you say we are, we are.
I mean, if you guys got one,
I didn't think we were done with the presentations yet, were we? Are we?
Let all the speakers speak up.
I'm sorry.
You haven't done what you were thinking you were gonna do.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you want me to take a minute to...
Please do identify yourself.
Yeah, I'm Tom Pittman from Barnes & Thornburg. If I may, I want to come back to the question that Mr. Luther raised to kind of maybe restate what Andy said. Okay, Andy calculated the projected TIF stream. He did that with his traditional conservatism and, in my view, very high level of expertise and experience. So they have studied in very great detail all of these projections. They made conservative estimates, and then they created a chart of projected TIF. They then said, okay, 80% of the TIF is going to be pledged to the bonds, 80% of that conservative estimate of the stream, 20% to the county. But then when they looked at that 80% that was pledged, they said, we're going to size the bond issue at a level that only assumes that 80% of that 80% is going to materialize. So that's how you explain. It's true that the county gets 20%. But on top of that, Andy reduced the bond size to make things work if only 80% of that 80% pledge came in. So that's how those two kind of interface. In terms of and again, just to kind of restate what Andy was saying. So in order to protect the county, Andy has made those multiple assumptions on the sizing of the debt. That's a protection for you. We have structured a taxpayer agreement with Lanco that is designed to pay any shortfalls on the bonds. And only if those firewalls get broken through do you ever arrive at a county tax levy. And keep in mind, the county tax levy, it's not an all or nothing thing, even in its own right. If Andy missed the target by 10% and the company, for whatever reason, didn't make good on the guarantee, you're still only levying for a shortfall. So, I mean, you're never going to get this project fully on the property tax unless there's no TIF, right? So it's not an all or nothing thing. So I wanted to hopefully kind of organize it the way I see it. In terms of the bond structure, as Scott said, it really couldn't be more convoluted, but I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. The county will issue bonds to, the insurance funds or the banks, whatever. Those are held by private, unrelated parties. The county will take the bond proceeds that it receives from selling the bonds,
and it will loan that money to a new nonprofit corporation that is being established. There's a slate of initial members, but the commissioners have the authority to replace at any time, to reappoint at any time, so it is a commissioner entity. That nonprofit then provides the proceeds to a Lanco, and they buy the equipment with those proceeds. Okay, so that's the bonding structure. Now, the leasing structure involves a Lanco having purchased this equipment and then leasing it to the nonprofit, and the nonprofit then subleasing it to both Lanco and the Redevelopment Commission. The sublease payments are payable by the Redevelopment Commission to the nonprofit, and that's really where the repayment is located, at this sub-lessee level, where the Redevelopment Commission agrees to make lease payments to the nonprofit from these various sources. That nonprofit pledges those lease payments back to the county, and the county uses those lease payments to repay the bonds. Now, there are a lot of good reasons for this complexity. One is this structure is really the only way to arrive at a goal of not requiring public bidding of the equipment, allowing for a tax backup to be put on the bonds, and it's really those two features that drive this complex arrangement. It's like a Rube Goldberg device, as they call them, where they get your egg fixed by it sliding through machines. But it works. I've done it a number of times. It will come together at the end of the day, and you've done it many times too.
Correct.
So, okay, that's all I had, other than juggling. Right?
You mentioned, can this property that's being held be refinanced in other markets as well, or liens placed against it? I guess my more important thing is, can liens be placed against this by others, against this property?
Yes.
And would it be primary or secondary to the bond requirements?
The taxpayer agreement will contain normally the duty to pay taxes, right, is secured by a property tax lien on the property. You don't pay your taxes, we come and take the property and sell it to pay the taxes, right? The statutes allow there to be an agreement where a Lanco can agree to allow not just the regular tax payments, but also their guarantee payments to be treated as if those required payments constitute a property tax lien on the property. So certainly, I mean, if they have other lenders, they need to know about this, because that type of lien supersedes a bank mortgage, right? I mean, if you, the county officials will take the property for taxes, even if there's a mortgage on it. But the banks, in fact, they don't let it get that far. So the answer is, nothing would be allowed to come in and take priority over that deemed taxpayer tax lien.
Okay. And this is set up that way in the language. I didn't quite read it that way, but it is set up that way.
If you look in the Economic Development Agreement itself, there's a reference to certain statutes which allow the parties to agree to treatment as the equivalent of a property tax lien.
I didn't read those sections.
No.
These sections. Statutes.
Yeah, Section 2.02 of the agreement.
I noticed in the agreement itself, there's blanks in it though, like on 4.03.
It's a substantially final form approval. There's still some loose ends. Scott?
Yeah, and I said, I just talked to Brent yesterday about there's a section in there about job retention. We just got those numbers yesterday. There's some exhibits we need to tack on, so.
So you're expecting an approval today with blanks in the contract?
We're requesting an approval of a substantially final form of the contract in order just to, it's at a point where there are very few loose ends. But since we were going to have this meeting for the approval of the expansion and TIF district creation for efficiency's sake, it was decided to request approval in substantially final form, if you see fit.
November 10th is our redevelopment commission meeting, as well as other meetings. By that point, we should have the almost exact final terms of the agreement, but it will be in substantial form that you see there with just those blanks completed.
How's this going to affect the private ownership within that TIF district? It will affect them in any way?
It has no effect on anyone's ownership. It has no effect on their tax rate. It has no effect on the taxes they pay, their assessed value. It has no impact on their zoning.
But unless they build something new.
It does not. Only if the only places that, well, even if you build something, it doesn't actually affect your tax rate or the amount of taxes you pay. You still pay your tax bill the same, your assessed value. But we've only designated only two areas of our economic development area are allocation areas. There's White Construction and then there's Lanco. So if Ed Kniser takes the old Breezeway Theater and builds a new gas station there, unless we do something proactively to designate that as an allocation area, which we would have to go through a bunch of steps to do, none of the new value from that new gas station would come into the redevelopment commission. It's not in the allocation area.
So why do we have a TIF area that includes more than just the
development area that includes other properties? The economic development area is the boundary within which you have to spend the money in serving or benefiting.
And is area planning zoned accordingly?
I believe it's all zoned industrial.
Yes.
I looked at the charts and I couldn't.
The maps are a little
they
are a little tough, but I think it's already zoned industrial.
So there's no changes that
there wouldn't be any changes anyways by virtue of us making an economic development area.
Yeah,
so
okay.
It doesn't. Now, if somebody did want to come in there and they did need to rezone it because they're going to be doing something that's not permitted or they need a special exception or variance, they would still have to go through that process. It doesn't change any of that. It's an overlay district that gives us the boundaries of the area that I think the Redevelopment Commission believes is a good area for growth and potential for economic development, and it allows us to do some things financially, use the revenue streams that we receive to benefit that area.
So if we would want to include the airport and actually make it a viable entity at some point, how would that be treated inside this TIF, and how would it be affected by any of the agreements that we're going into today?
What you're describing would be an expansion of the boundaries, which would require the various.
The airport's actually already in.
It's in the TIF area.
It would be in the expanded area.
Okay, is it already?
It is not a municipal airport though, so there's some complications there.
Okay.
But if I think that we can spend the money on projects in serving or benefiting that area.
Right.
So if somebody came in and said, this airport, if we had sanitary sewers, it would really help us. We could look at financing those sanitary sewer extensions using the TIF money because it's already in the area.
It's in the area. Oh, it's already in the economic development area. Gotcha.
I think the important things that you just brought out is to make that area available. I mean, if you got a company coming in and they know that's an area that's got TIF, right? I mean, there's a possibility to come in and say, hey, this TIF district here, we could actually work in that because it's already available, right?
Yes, absolutely. Now, if somebody did want to come in and do something new in an area that's not part of our allocation area, we might have to designate that as an allocation area, which again would require us to come back in front of you and the Planning Commission and the Redevelopment Commission. But what we're trying to also do here is make sure our friends in Lanco are aware that they're already in our allocation area. So that structure and that framework to do additional projects with them is already built. It's already there. We would not have to go back through this 8-meeting process in order to do another project. We would still have some meetings we have to go through, but it wouldn't be as many because we've already got that allocation area created within our economic development area.
One of the other things that said retention of 300 jobs. What is the current employment of them now at Lanco? Here, roughly?
Right around 3, plus there's some independent contractors that work out there.
So in other words, the 300 job retention is about the same as what you got, or a little less than what you're saying?
It's probably a little less, but we encourage them to be conservative in that estimate because, you know, we don't want over promises, and so the companies being conservative about their projections.
We have no expectation of reducing, it's just being conservative.
Has Help Township weighed in on this?
Yeah, that's the question I had.
They will, before the redevelopment commission has their final vote on this, notices have to go out to all the affected taxing units. In fact, Andy has them ready. He gave them to me this morning to deliver to Help Township, the library, the school corporation, and I'm going to give one to Brenda too.
But have they
that
been...
tax impact statement shows, I'll tell you, the preview is it has no impact.
Okay, but Help Township, Kevin Wilkins hasn't been advised of this?
He will be today.
He's aware of it.
I don't know if he's aware of it or not. He'll get a notice. He'll get an official notice today and a tax impact statement today.
I talked to him yesterday.
I don't know if he knows about it or not. So, but our process, the statute requires us to give that notice before the final redevelopment commission meeting, so we're doing that today.
Okay. Do you want to speak? You have something to say today?
I don't have anything to say.
Somebody said it all, right?
It's already been said.
Has Lanco considered any dedication of public ways, parks, trails of any sort?
We have not, Brent, I apologize, I didn't get a chance to talk to the company about that this morning. We did talk to them about whether there was any need for any kind of road improvements or anything like that to help serve their facility. They decided that they didn't feel like they needed that right now. The structure we came up, the financing structure we came up with is ultimately what we agreed to. What we can talk to them about, I think we've heard some discussion about trails, and I think that there's some interest in the county in some trails in your area, but I'm guessing you probably can't agree to that today.
Yeah, I don't have to.
Tomorrow?
agree to that. But yeah, we're certainly receptive to talk.
Okay, well, you want to make any other discussion? If not,
If there's no other discussion, I'll take number 2 at this. And thank you, Lanco, and everybody for their presentation, and we appreciate the investment in the county. And I would make a motion to approve the economic development agreement substantial final form. Is that correct?
Correct. I see that. I'll second your motion.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
And Scott, I know we have 2 resolutions before us, or Brenda's got 2 of them. Which one is the one you want?
Both.
You want both of them done? Okay. And it's 26 and 21?
2021, 20, 2021, 21. I apologize.
2021, 21's the first one? Or 20? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-20.
I'll second your motion.
Discussion?
Yes. Redevelopment Commission, John, does the Redevelopment Commission have any comments before we approve this resolution?
Not this time, I mean, we're obviously in favor of it.
Okay. No reservations or at all?
I mean, there's been too much discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Call for the thing. So, yeah, I'll
All in
call
favor?
for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion passed.
And then I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-21 as presented.
I'll second your motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Measure passed. You will advise Kevin Wickens, who will be advised.
I'm gonna drop this off in his office today, actually.
Okay.
When do we won't be able to sign these today until the substantial portion is complete? Or we do, how's that gonna work? Until we get
The agreement itself will.
Right.
But the resolutions you can sign.
Yes. Thank you.
We'll take a
Nicely
short
done,
break
gentlemen. Thank you.
and the commissioners look over your packet and see if there's anything you want to change as far as, you have anybody here that's going to be short and you get them out of here. If you got any changes you want to make on the procedure here.
I need to go. Well, a lot of it's highway, except for Jennifer. If Jennifer, is yours pretty?
Okay.
I'd say Jennifer's would be pretty quick if we
We
wanted
need
to.
to get John out here to Thrive.
Oh, Thrive, yeah. We
We
can
got Thrive and you out of here quick.
I'll let them at least have the opportunity.
We can probably do the Thrive thing next. The asset management plan.
The heart of this.
She went 2 minutes. Somebody had 2 minutes.
Is it?
So it'd be really good if I was before that. Because
All right, you
it's
want-
the inventory that has to be done, that they can do right along.
You want to do Mark first
I didn't
then?
realize I was on the agenda.
You want to do it now?
You can do it. Yeah, you can do it now.
You gonna kick back in or
Do what?
start the meeting up again or?
Yeah, we'll call this meeting back to order.
Didn't know we went to recess.
We didn't call it out, but call it back. Get some direction here.
Okay. Mark O'Hare, Vermillion County Emergency Management. What you have in front of you is a letter to NDOT from the commissioners. Okay. Attached to that is a Title VI implementation plan and a ADA transition plan, both dated for 2021. I've been in touch with a representative from NDOT. We were shy of our Title VI transition plan, did not have one in place. I've been working with them to get it done. The plan is, I'm going to say 99.9% complete. One of the things that has to be done is a resolution accepting that plan by the commissioners. We also have never had a resolution for the ADA plan, which needs a resolution also. If you read this letter, pretty self-explanatory. When you get into the down into the tables, it shows our list of potential deficiencies identified by NDOT and how we are trying to come in compliance with those. The one thing that we do not have, and I can't just whip one out, is an asset inventory. There was a study done of this courthouse and square, the Newport area. I'm going to say it was in 2013. I have no copy of that, never received that, had nothing to do with it. It was done by the commissioners. And that basically gave us a list of things that we needed to do. One was the outside ramp, getting the ADA compliance. That's been completed. But it did not look at all the areas that the county is actually responsible for. When we pave streets in St. Bernice, if there's a sidewalk, it's the county's responsibility to bring that into ADA compliance. That's a hit. It's a big hit. So as part of this asset inventory that you guys are going to contract, they're going to be driving all these streets. They're going to be marking all the street signs. That's a great time to look around that intersection and say, hey, there's a sidewalk. Majority of our rural roads do not have sidewalks. Most towns do not have sidewalks, but when you look at probably Hillsdale, St. Bernice, I can't think of the other areas, but there are a few areas that do have sidewalks and they need to be brought up to date. Okay, and inventory will tell us that, and then we can start working on them. When you do your
Asset management plan.
well, the grant that you get every year, the highway grant,
Community crossing.
the community crossing grant, that can be something that's put into it to bring those sidewalk ramps up to code. Okay, the letter in front of you is basically saying that we're looking at this issue. We have, in good faith, produced the plans. We don't have an asset management plan. If you follow through on the second page, you'll see each one of these deficiencies is identified. Most of them I have corrected by February of 2022. That's because we have to get resolutions. Okay, you can probably have a resolution at the next meeting, and then we can update this and send them another letter. But that gave us time in case something happens between now and then, you know, because it's a few months. The representative at INDOT thinks that these are doable dates, does not seem to have an issue with it. This was his template, this letter.
So that won't hold us up all applying for the community crossing grant?
No, as long as we continue to work in good faith, okay? That's why we need to get this letter. It's dated for today. You'll notice the last page is your signatures. I need to get a copy of it.
Does this have to be done today?
Yep, a copy of the signed
I've
one.
not read
Yes.
any of this.
And I'll make
Well,
sure,
we
because
can,
this contains
can it
these, I'll
wait
make sure you
till-
have copies of all these too.
Mark, does this need to be sent out today?
Does
Can
not
it-
have to be today, but it needs to be done in the near future. I would not want to wait another 2 weeks because we've already been kind of playing with this for over a month.
Can we, we'll just go ahead and make it so you read through it and you have no question with it, and we'll say that you go ahead and approve it after. You know what I'm saying? How do I say that?
I
After
don't
you read
know.
it?
But
You
I have not read any of it yet.
Yeah, I
Never
mean,
mind.
I've read this letter, well, I mean, I briefly read through it just now, and I don't see anything detriment to the county in it, that, I mean, I'm okay with signing it today and giving Mark a copy.
Thing about
Do you
it
need all
is-
the commissioner's signature, or do you just need a majority?
Well, if one of you signs it, all three of you might as well sign it. I mean, the majority would be fine too. You only
Yeah,
need
that's
2
what I
out of the
was-
3. I could have set it up that just the president of the board signs it, but
Yeah.
if you're all 3 sitting here.
Well, if we don't have no deadline that we gotta meet, I have no problem doing it at the next meeting after we've read it, but, 'cause I haven't read it either. But if we don't have no problem, I need to find out a community crossing grant. If we're looking at a number here in time, a deadline, this has to be in, I need to know that. I mean, if it's a major importance, you know, we'll do something about it quicker, but if not,
According to Mr. Gay at INDOT, it just needs to be in as soon as possible.
okay.
And you will see I use that term in a
Okay.
few spots.
I would like to read it and then the next meeting approve it. We have time to read it.
That's 2 weeks.
That's
Mark just
2
said
weeks out.
he
Yeah, he said no.
can't wait 2 weeks.
You can't wait 2 weeks.
It's,
Okay.
this is
Well,
on you
but-
guys.
okay.
First off, most counties, this is the auditor's office doing this or the commissioners. Park County Jim Meese is the guy who handles all this stuff.
Right.
Okay, so this is you. I'm just typing paperwork
I
for you.
understand.
Right.
And we
So if you
appreciate
want to
your
wait a
help.
year, I could care
No,
less.
no, I'm looking at, if we got a deadline here, we need to do, let's do it. If we got a few days to look
Well-
at it, you know what I'm saying? I'm just wanna, because I understand.
What are we
written
obliging
deadline.
ourselves to February 1st? What is that, dead, or what is that?
It's basically about 3 months out. It just gives us a little time. Like I said,
To
all
do
you have to
what?
do is do a resolution, which could be signed at the next meeting, and then we'd be 100% compliant on the transition plan and 100% compliant on the ADA transition plan, the Title VI and ADA. All we need is that resolution to finish those 2 things up, which would be 2 resolutions, actually.
One of these is the asset management plan.
And that's, I got as
what letter
2023
says,
because at
doesn't
that
have.
last meeting when Thrive was here, that's when they said they would have the asset plan that you're asking for back to you.
Well, we'll have that in March of 22.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then March of 22 is when we can have it done. Again, I would not want to say March of 22 and then come June, we're still waiting on them to
I'm
do it
just-
because we had a flood and they couldn't do any work
Yeah.
or something.
Sure,
So,
sure. If they accept 23, that's great.
exactly. And
Just because we get done in 22,
yeah,
that's
I
not.
don't know if this is the right way to do business, but if you guys wanted to sign that thing, so I had a paper copy of it, and then you read through it, and the next 2 days you tell me, don't mail that in, don't do this, I'd be fine with that. But if you said, oh, it all looks good, or you want to change on the transition, the Title VI plan or the ADA plan, that would be fine too, but that way we'd have a signed copy and I could get it going. I would not have to wait 2 weeks to try to corral you all, because you can't get in the same room half the time to get this done.
I agree.
Again, this is.
I have no issue signing mine today, Tim. I don't know if you guys want to wait and review it, but I'll go ahead and sign mine if you guys.
Did you guys get the email on us being non-compliant on this? Because I know Mark, we sent it to Mark. I
Yeah.
think the 3 of you got it
Yeah, we
about a
received
month
it.
ago, correct?
Yep, or I did anyway.
I have no problem with it, sign it today.
And again, if you want to make a
If you have
change,
any
I can hold
problem,
on to it for a couple
always,
days
Yeah.
and not send it in. You know, if you want to sit back and read it and go through it. A lot of like the transition plan, most of this stuff is boilerplate. We just put census numbers in. We did make some corrections. There is in each of these plans, there's basically the same table which says these are the areas you're not compliant and this is how you're going to try and fix
I
these things.
understand what you did, Mark, and it was in part of there when we were talking about this, but I just not read any of it.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
not.
One thing I would like you to do is when you're looking at this contract today with Thrive is get this in there.
They're here today.
Right. And I saw it was on the agenda. I don't want you to sign a contract and then tomorrow say, oh, we have to add something to it.
Right.
You know, we talked about that last week, Brent.
I have no problem signing it today with the intention that if there's something here that is I do not agree with, or any of the commissioners don't agree with, they can voice it to you and stop the process.
And we can change the document. I'll forward it back to you. You can read it again. But I'd just like to have something so that I don't have to try and chase you down on Friday at 5 in the evening to get a signature.
That's what I got on the table.
How simple is it to modify this? Say that we want to change something. How easy is it to change things?
If you read the letter, it says annually we have to review each of these documents and make changes as necessary. There's also a goals and objective areas that needs to be updated.
So it's a living document, basically.
Yes, exactly.
So we can modify it tomorrow if we needed to.
Exactly.
Matter.
Exactly. And it also, in the outline, that those are our annual reviews, but you're supposed to do almost a complete rewrite every 3 years.
Right. Well, I understand.
And
I thank
this
you for
started in
putting this all
2017,
together.
and this is the first I've ever heard of it. Like I said, other people normally do this job in the county.
You're listed as our ADA director, though.
Yeah, because I showed up to a meeting.
We're going to sign this today, and then if there's any changes, we'll let you know.
You want to sign it, Brent?
Yeah, I'll sign it.
When you read through it, like I said,
We'll
most of it's
modify it.
boilerplate. It's a lot of legal stuff. For you, it has to be complete in all contracts. There's things that have to be in there. I don't know where you put that in the contract. I'm not a contract guy.
We have been. I don't know what they've done in the past, but we have been.
I do want to say thank you again for the boat race and what you've done. It was a very well planned, and emergency management did a tremendous job on that.
I'll email you copies of the trainers.
Here.
I'll email
Okay.
you copies of both these plans.
We're going to move on. Recorder's office.
I'm going to jump up here.
Next, we're going to get economic development. Doug, if you're on here somewhere.
We're doing, it's on the back page, Jennifer Peebles.
Jennifer Peebles, Recorder's Office. Global Indicom reached out to me about wanting to purchase our monthly records. We have other companies that do this. We charge them 10 cents a copy, and it's just ongoing every month. We run them off a copy and send it to them. It's watermarked, and then they send us a check, is what it boils down to. But I have to have a commissioner's signature on the form to send it back to them.
Is this a new company?
Yeah, we deal with a couple of others that do the same thing, but this is just a new one, wanting to get into the loop of it.
And so you got a set charge for so many copies that you provide
10
to
cents
these.
a copy, yep.
Do you not charge for your time?
No, just the copies, and we do this with a couple other companies. It's just, Bridges brings in a little extra money to the county.
Well, it probably costs us more than 10 cents a copy, but shouldn't we receive compensation for your time doing this, the workers?
We run a copy every month anyway for our own records. It's just a matter of sticking another disc in and running it. They pay for the postage for it to be sent and everything.
Are these electronic copies, not physical copies, right?
No, they're on a disc, so.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for, I don't even know what's it called?
It's Global
Monthly user
Indicom.
agreement?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly user agreement presented by the recorder.
This is for a particular, you got a motion on the floor?
Yeah, and I guess it's for Indicom Global Services. I'll amend my motion to include.
I'll second that motion accordingly.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you.
One question before you go.
Yeah.
That's 10 cents per
page.
Per page, and a page consists of?
If it's a mortgage, it could be anywhere from 7 pages to 22 pages.
And it's all electronic, not a paper copy trail? Okay.
And it's watermarked, so they can't just resell them.
Sure.
They just use it for like for people to look at, you know. You just need to sign the one, the others just need to vote.
Thank
These
you.
are all
Sorry,
public
held you up.
documents,
You'll
right?
need the original
Me and you
first
can go
and
in there.
You'll need the original first.
Doug Hess, are you on here for economic development? I'll let you come up and introduce yourself and
We're jumping.
let you get out of here. Anybody else we holding up that could get out of here quicker?
Where we at now?
We have a solid waste meeting right after this.
At 10 o'clock.
I know I'm trying to get through
What
this.
time do we have?
Doug?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Doug Hess, and I'm the new Economic Development Executive Director. I just started on October the 1st, so what I've been doing over the last 26 days is going out to the county and meeting as many individuals as I can, both elected officials, different agencies, and business owners, et cetera, trying to get a feel for where we are. One thing that I will tell you that we started prior to my arriving with economic development is we have sent out RFIs for a strategic plan that we're working on, and we're hoping to review those and get a final decision made here very shortly so we can have that process start by the first of the year. Obviously, as we're getting ready to go into the holidays, it'll probably be more around January 1st before we can officially get something kicked off.
Good deal.
Hey, one thing I would like to see changed is the economic development sign out on the highway. It said economic devil, and that's drove me every time nuts. Every time I drive by, it's DVEL, and I'm thinking, you know, we can do better than that. So I don't know if it's in our budget to do that, or it's in your budget, but what are we got to change? I think we all agree
It's
that
not necessarily a thing of budget, it's what the DNR will let you do.
DNR will.
NDOT
will let you do that, especially correct improper
RJ is the
wording.
one that got the sign.
Hey, no problem. But my question is that something that economic development paid for, the county needs to pay for? That's my question. It's no big deal either way.
We didn't pay
Well-
the original sign, NDOT took care of it.
Okay. I'd just like to see it change. I think we all agree, without
Well-
discussing it very much, that it'd be better if it was more proper wording on that sign.
I'm not opposed to it.
Let's just make sure everything,
Yeah.
we have other issues.
That's something that I wanted to say.
Sure.
But,
We'll look into that and see.
I appreciate you coming and welcoming you to Vermillion County. You've been here all a long time, and
Yep.
I know you want to see the best of Vermillion County.
Absolutely. I think we all do.
Mhm.
So,
I don't know where we're
all right.
Anybody else?
No.
We're back
I'm good.
up to
I'm good.
appointments, yeah, but
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
going to have to maybe.
Thank you.
We might not be able to get
Thank
through this
you.
meeting today.
Are we gonna do the asset management plan?
Yes,
You wanna
let's
do that
have
next?
Thrive come up. Eventually, we're going to have to shorten something here or change something.
courthouse doesn't close till 4 o'clock.
Oh, I can't stay till 4, there's no way.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. John Ford, Director of Business Development for Thrive West Central. Just following up on our proposal for the asset management agreement.
Yeah, Brent, what was Mark wanting us to include on the asset management plan? Was it included in the proposals from both of them, or no?
It has to do with the sidewalks and basically compliance with ADA as far as the highways are concerned.
And
And it has-
ADA inventory, it sounded like what he wanted. It is not included, but we can add it to the proposal. It won't, the price won't go up.
Okay.
What was that
We'll
again?
keep adding then.
Yeah, let's keep adding some more things.
Actually, we do have a couple of other things
Sure.
that we need to address.
Thrive's proposal was it 56,000?
45,000.
45.
Over 3 installments.
Brenda, do you know if the commissioners have that and any services, or we'll have to get it from the council, or, okay.
We could approve it pending.
Subject to funding.
Yeah, I would,
But
go
we
ahead.
need to also, we need to decide whether we want to have traffic counts put into this proposal. Is it for no additional cost?
No. But,
You want-
no, but, so I did some research after we talked last night. So we did about 100 counts from September of 19 to April of 2020. They're on schedule to do more counts in Vermillion County through the RPO, through the NDOT match of 80-20 next year, starting next July. And I think they're scheduled, they have 140 count sets. That's railroad crossings and various roads.
Who's paying for that? Who agreed to that? Previous
Well,
commissioner?
so in 19, it goes through the RPO program. You haven't been presented yet with an RPO. It's in your normal where you pay Thrive. It's in that program, which you wouldn't receive till June of next year, June of
Okay.
22. So if you wanted to do them earlier, we could do them earlier, but it wouldn't have the NDOT match of 80%.
Okay, we'll probably want to hold off then, I believe.
And I can get you
address
that data that it's been uploaded into NDOT system.
There's a lot of road counts on that map.
Yeah.
There's several.
On which map are we talking about?
It's on the
NDOT
state
system, yeah.
Yeah. What's their LTAP? They sent me the link to it. But yeah, you can go on there because I didn't think some roads up north had them. She goes, check this before you ask us to do them because they may already be done.
Is this the same thing that the signs are being done under?
Yeah, same system that it'd be uploaded to. So all, things that deal with the roads, NDOT's trying to collect all that data into one central hub. So we're, and that's why NDOT's willing to pay 80% for these road counts, because they also want this data.
I had a couple of questions, but I don't know what I did with them.
Well, that means I get off easy today.
I know, isn't that terrible?
I think, again, I think RJ noted that in the past, there was one other company that we looked at that, doing it, it was almost twice that amount.
Yeah, I think
But,
Clark Dietz was close to 100,000. Yeah, I know, Britton, you might have a couple questions, so I'll hold off on making a motion unless...
Well, I'm not sure I have my questions with me, is the problem. So if you'll give me, you can go ahead and talk a little bit while I look.
So I could make the motion where pending Britton asks you the questions later on, you have to...
Daggone it, I apologize. Apparently...
I'll include that in the motion for you, John, so
Yeah,
he can...
he knows how to get a hold of me.
My apologies, I don't have it with me, I guess.
Well, if there's no objections, I would like to make a motion to approve Thrive's proposal for the asset management plan.
Oh, wait a minute, I think
Oh.
Well, you can go to discussion if you want.
You gotta be faster.
I'm trying to make sure I get it. A motion to approve Thrive's asset management proposal pending council funding if we don't have it, and pending Britton's questions to Mr. Ford.
And adding the ADA.
And adding the ADA at no additional cost, right?
Yes.
Okay. Here's my motion.
Got a motion on the floor?
I do have discussion, maybe.
You have discussion for a second, or what are you gonna do?
Did you have a second already?
Tim, are you going to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Now there's a second.
Discussion.
I have silent discussion right now. It wasn't anything big.
Well, we can follow
yeah,
on.
Yeah.
I don't think it materially changes anything or your structure of what you're doing. Yeah, this is.
It's a good deal.
This is it is. They already have. One of the question was, this is going to be put into the Think GIS for what the county has in that format.
Mm-hmm.
They also talked about spreadsheets. What type of spreadsheets are we talking about? Is it in Excel?
It'd be in Excel.
And
yeah.
the data, what type of database are we using?
I mean, I don't know what at the county level you're using, but it'd be on Excel, so you could bring it up in any Microsoft Excel program.
Databases are different in Excel. Excel can be imported into it, but
so it'd be one, an Excel document, and two would be it would be uploaded into the NDOT system, so it'd be in that format for the database, which.
And then the pictures, are they going to be tied to the GIS also?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the Crawfordsville or the Montgomery County?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be similar to what they've done?
Yes,
basically?
that's required by NDOT.
Okay.
So when we do it, you'll have a picture of every sign, whatever we do.
The one, just coming to mind now, we don't have X and Y on those signs. You have the height requirement, but we also need to have the offset from the road and from intersections. That data is going to be required or needed to be able to say whether the sign's a legitimate sign or not. Can we include that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And you also said that you're going to do this from aerial, the PACER program. You're going to use aerial photography with this. I'm in agree. This would be great.
I think it was you that put us down that path.
Okay. Anyway, that's why it's great, I guess.
Yeah.
But how are you going to do that? or what is the mechanism that you're gonna do that under? I guess it doesn't really matter as far as, I'd like to know at a later time how that's going to actually be implemented physically.
Sure. And we'll circle back and we'll get a meeting with Dan and the technical crew.
I'm really pleased with the proposal, and I would like for us.
Call for a
I
vote.
call for the vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Subject, did you say subject to funding?
Yes, council
Okay.
funding, if we don't have it in there, so if not, one of us can go before.
And we'll just add to each time we make a proposal.
Well, I don't know if we have the funding or not.
I'm sure the council wouldn't be objective to something like this.
This is a very important document for us to
Yeah.
have, not just for ADA, but for us to make decisions going
Agreed.
forward, so.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
John.
Commissioner.
You might look down through here because we're running out of time. We might have to have another meeting for the, maybe take care of this stuff with the highway department, special meeting next week or something because.
Is there anything needs voted on
we're running
today
out-
going
running
through
out of
there?
time.
We got the town hall
How
tomorrow.
else- What else do we need to get? We need to get the priorities here, try to get rid of people that are here so they can move on.
Do we need to act on the cybersecurity level 1 and 2? Or is
If
that-
we're going to, do you want to have a special meeting or just continue this meeting? Are you guys available tomorrow?
I'm saying if there's anything here that people need to present, we're here for you today. Because we have another meeting after this, and we could take the continuation of what we haven't done on another meeting next week, if that's allowable. Because we're running out of time, we really are.
I'm not sure on the continuation.
Anyone else here?
We're not out of time.
Anything else you want to hit? First here, and then I'll ask them.
If we're going to continue,
Yeah, that's what we have to do.
Was it continue, or are you talking about, I mean, because you want to close this meeting because you've done
it won't be
payroll.
closed if you're continuing.
Yeah, but I want to first, I want to continue next week with this meeting, but if anyone's here, as came here for a presentation on this agenda, I want them to be heard. That's my question first. Is anyone here? Come on up, speak on it. You got to come up.
I have to be downstairs at 10:30.
What?
I have to be downstairs at 10:30, so the deputy can be up.
Yeah, could you come up here and address this, what you think about the speed limit? Because we have another meeting that should already be going on, and it's not. So.
Well, Mike had sent something back out via email. I reached out to Neil Costello. Neil, I reached out to him a little late. He's going to get back with me later today.
And the evening meeting would probably be better for him anyway, because he
Yeah.
works.
Neil
is very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
He did a presentation on this in 2018, 2019.
Yeah. He said Vigo County hadn't done the blanket speed limit, but he wasn't sure why. He was going to find out and bring some data to us. And I told him we'd probably hold off on doing that ordinance until.
Neil's presentation is very good. I think you really need to hear that before you make a final decision on this. He's good at what he does, and that's a big part of it.
Okay. So we're going to table this until we have him come do a presentation. Is that what?
Yeah, I'll reach out to Neil. Yeah, because I think he's got a lot of data for us to listen to. It'd be good.
Okay.
I don't know that we're in any big hurry at this point. It's been this
Yeah.
way for
Yeah.
Whatever
decades.
speed you guys set, the question that kept coming to me is, will we enforce it? Sure we will. I mean, we'll do the best we can. It's like out on 63, how many are actually driving 60 mile an hour out there? I mean, the average is probably closer to 70, and we just don't have the manpower to get every one of them. We're going after the ones that are 75, 85, 100 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And we do special patrols throughout the year just for that Operation Pullover that the state pays for. But in the end, whatever you guys said about that's what we're going to go by.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is anyone here that's came to speak on a certain topic or have something they want to be addressed at this meeting? If not, we're going to adjourn this meeting and put it. You got to come here. That's just the rules. Thank you for coming, John Moore. Appreciate it.
John!
I got another book out in the truck. One quick question. What's your deadline on commissioner appointments? Originally, it was 11/1, and then you discussed you were going to move it.
You mean a deadline for submitting?
For people
For submitting.
applying.
What did we do last year? 12/31.
What we need to, what we're proposed to do, and the reason why I said 11/1, that wasn't in Hessian gold or anything, but the reason for it was so that we could have a chance to, one, review it and then go through and actually talk to the people, interview them as to
So
what they're doing and to make the appropriate appointments.
That toward the first of the year because they have a month there of looking over them. Is that what you're saying?
And we have 2 meetings in December to actually make that happen, but.
Well,
I would point out and make the observation that you need to make the appointments before the end of the year, so that on January 1 or January 2, the new appointees can do their stuff that they gotta do.
I agree.
Be legal.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The latest we could do this is December 1st, but then that gives us only like a 2-week period in which to confirm these appointments. And I think we need to
Probably 3
spend
weeks.
that time to actually make sure that the appointments are good appointments. In a lot
I
of
think
different
November
ways.
1st might be a little early. I'd like to go
Yeah.
at least till the middle of November, because I would hate to tell people they only, like today, 2 weeks.
I have no
2
problem with
weeks. I mean,
the
I mean, 2
end of the
weeks.
month.
Has it even been posted yet as to?
I
what
filed
appointments
mine
are?
this morning at whatever time I got
Have a
up, so I
few.
could make it here.
I would.
So I hope your online thing works right, because.
I seen it this morning, John.
Okay, and then that's basically about all I have. I gotta go cut a tree down.
I personally like to see it either last day of November, the first day of December.
Maybe November 30th.
If we can't go through them in
I think
2 or 3
2 weeks is
and-
plenty of time to call and review.
What?
I think 2 weeks is plenty of time. So you want to do December 1st?
I don't know, that's kind of, I like December the 1st or November the 31st, whichever. That's what I'm kind of.
Can I ask, Brenda, are you getting a lot of people applying online?
I've had 2 so far.
But we haven't announced.
Last year we had a lot of.
Yeah, it
lot of-
works. I think the
Yeah.
online thing is a very
Yeah.
good tool to
I
have.
was just wondering how many she'd already had.
Yeah.
in-
But we haven't officially announced.
Right.
So you want to do November 30th?
Or December the 1st, it's just a talk. I mean, you have almost a whole month to overlook them. You don't have to get a meeting to overlook them, you can go online, she sends them to us anyway.
So December 1st, you any objection?
We can try that.
Okay.
If it doesn't work this year, we'll
Then we'll
change it
change
next
it.
year.
So
December
the
1st.
so any county appointments for the commissioners
Someone
or?
make the motion or something, we'll move on.
I make a motion to set the county, commissioner appointments or
Deadline,
deadline of December the 1st for appointments.
midnight of the 1st. Okay.
Yep, midnight of the 1st.
Got a second?
I don't know that, there's a motion on the floor. I'll second the motion just so we get to discussion.
Okay. Limit.
I don't know that we have a deadline. This is our appointments.
Yeah, but
It's
you have to have something set there that people always gotta react to. I mean,
Well,
they have to have.
what does that mean? That if we have nobody apply for something, we're not gonna make the
Well,
appointment
no,
then, or
that's the
what?
difference. I mean, if there's no one apply, that's a whole different,
Or if we had one apply and we don't like that person?
you just don't accept it and put it back out.
Okay. Just asking.
Okay. So, vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, December the 1st at midnight is the deadline. So anything comes in after that?
We
we'll
prefer
accept
that
it.
be, if you don't have access to the computer, you can send to the auditor a written out application or request for appointment.
We encourage everyone to get involved in our county. I think that the way we set up this application makes it very easy for people to apply for boards, and I think it's been a tremendous asset to our county. We want people involved, and that's the only way our county's going to move ahead is involvement of the people. So, if anyone else got anything to say, I mean, if you've got anything to say, make it very, very brief. But I think we as commissioners will take the existing leftover of this meeting and schedule a meeting here next week to
I
finish
think
it up.
if you're gonna continue a meeting, you have to say time and date now.
So
Okay, that's fine. Let's
you want to do that, or do you want to adjourn this one and put everything that wasn't
And then go
discussed?
to a special meeting.
Yeah, on a special meeting. That might be simpler.
What do you guys want to do?
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting and then to move everything else to a special meeting next week at a later date. Unless you
And
guys
you
want to
need
set
a date set today.
Only if we're gonna continue. Otherwise, we gotta give 48-hour notice.
Yeah, we can do a special meeting. So I'll just make a motion to
Yeah.
adjourn this one and move the rest to a special meeting.
And we'll determine time.
Determine a time and
Okay.
date later. Okay.
Got a
That's
second
my
on it?
motion.
Did I do that right?
Yeah.
Got a second on it?
Second, yes.
Discussion?
Yeah, I got a few things.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, hold on a sec. I haven't been up here enough. The thing
We
about
already- She's already adjourned.
public input, like this gentleman back here, I don't know what his question was, but it was when the
No.
health department was up here. And if you don't let them ask the question, like Wendy left, if you don't let them ask their question while, even if, like they could come and ask you now and you may have to say, well, I have to get back with Wendy. I just think if you're gonna take the public comments, at least he could do it while they were still here to get an answer.
That's been a discussion
Yeah.
for a long time,
Yes.
since January, so.
Well, I just, you know,
But I did make the open invitation. Someone got something to say in the public?
these are my
want to say
solid
something?
waste people, most of them.
No one else? Okay.
I do think we need.
So meeting adjourned.
Meeting is adjourned.
You're free to go.
COVID, and I want to know Mr. recommendations on